Mic check, mic check. I think we are all good to go. Let me know if y'all still can't hear me. But I'm starting to see a little bit of reading here on our sound bar. So I'm so sorry about that. Thank y'all for staying patient with me while we worked out those kinks. But what I was saying in my spiel that y'all did not hear. Thank you again for joining me for the second time. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to put those in the chat or just say hi. I'm happy that y'all are here with me this evening. There's a lot to talk about today, and especially heading into the weekend, starting to see our best shot of widespread rain than we have seen for just shy of 50 days. So we are in desperate need of the rain, and I'm happy to see rain back in the forecast. Right now, if we take a look at live radar, let's see. We're just watching for some very isolated sea breeze showers trying to get up and going. It's very isolated, very small cells. Not everyone will see rain today. Right now, watching for very small cell moving into southern Grimes, but we're also got some activity to the west of the Brazos Valley, but it's a very good chance that most of us stay dry for the remainder of your Thursday, and I'm anticipating those of us who are seeing rain actively, as we lose daytime heating, we should quiet things down into the rest of your overnight. The best shot for all of us to see rain is this weekend, and this comes in the form of what we call a Pacific low, so basically an upper level trough that moves off the Pacific, and it's currently making its way east, and over the next 24 to 36 hours it's going to be in the Lone Star State, and that's going to give us the needed lift to put all of this moisture that we've been building over the past few days into a pretty good widespread rain chance as we step into your Saturday. So I'll walk you through that right now, but as you can see, we're already starting to fire up some storms around that Four Corners region. That's where that Pacific low resides at this moment. And over the next day, it's going to continue to move east. In fact, it's going to sink pretty low into the Lone Star State, and that's why rain chances are so high, because the closer that this upper level trough gets to us, the better shot it is for rain. So right now, long-term model data has this moving into North Texas, Sooner State, and you can see it's messy. That's Saturday, 3 p.m. as that trough of low pressure moves a little bit closer to us. And because we could find some strong to even severe storms along that associated cold front that Pacific low is going to bring, Friday evening into early Saturday morning is a first solar weather day. So we've been talking about this over the past couple of days. Obviously, if that cold front finds some pretty good organization within that line of showers and thunderstorms that moves ahead and along that front, we could find those severe storms, and those could produce some strong winds, mainly straight line damaging wind gusts upwards of 45 to 60 miles per hour. Now, I think that's going to be along that higher reflectivity band that we find that, and then we'll start to fill in with some backfill light showers and rain, and then you can see that as we will start to linger activity as we step into the evening. So what I want to do right now is just walk through forecast radar so we can just get the play-by-play. Y'all can get an idea of what to expect. Obviously, this is high-res data. It's not perfect. Don't get it too attached to the timing, but it is an idea of what to expect. So again, Thursday, 6 p.m., very isolated, kind of walked you through that on radar, and then we lose the heat of the day, quiet things down into the overnight. Friday, it's more of the same as what we saw for today. That sea breeze trying to give you lucky of us some very isolated cells, could find some showers and thunderstorms, not anticipating anything severe ahead of that low, but still could cash in a couple hundredths of an inch. Then the best shot for that rain, again, comes along that cold front head and along that front. So this is Friday, 9 p.m., hasn't quite reached us yet. And then by the time we get to around midnight, you can see a pretty messy, organized line moving into the northwest corner of the area. So got my eyes Milam, Lee County to see the first of these impacts. And it stays rather put together, or at least high-res model seems to think so, as it continues to move east across the area, really across our 16 counties. So I think all of us could see a pretty healthy dose of gusty winds, heavy rainfall, all of those things that we see with your generic thunderstorms. And of course, with cold fronts and with this low pressure being closer to Texas, that could give us that severe potential that we're watching very closely. Now, what we typically see with cold fronts is some clearing as we step into the afternoon, but because it's a low pressure system pretty close to home, I think that still gives us a chance to continue to find very isolated activities. We step into the afternoon, especially given, and this is really the key, is we start to lull that activity down into the early morning of the hour. We clear out a lot of that cloud cover that allows for our atmosphere essentially to reset, heat back up, destabilize to give us another shot for some isolated storms. So right now, high-res model has some activity firing up as early as around 2 p.m. Once again, behind that leading edge. And then that really continues. Just a very messy picture through the remainder of your Saturday evening. So try to stay weather aware and potentially may need to rearrange those Saturday evening plans if you do find a strong storm that moves overhead. And of course, that severe potential sticks with us through your Saturday morning and into the afternoon. So Saturday all the way through, I urge you to stay weather aware and weather prepared. Of course, keep the KBDX First Alert Weather app close by. We'll continue to watch these storms very closely throughout the remainder of your Saturday. Now, high-res model still has some activity continuing to early morning Sunday. And we could still find some isolated activity into your Sunday afternoon, but I am anticipating as that low continues to move east away from the state of Texas, we lose that daytime heating into your Sunday evening. We should start to quiet things down. Before we get there, of course, it's going to be a little bit messy, potentially maybe woken up by those thunderstorms. So if we take a look at your rain and storm timeline, mostly quiet for the majority of your Friday, and then I think by the time we hit around midnight, that's when we start to introduce that line of showers and thunderstorms moving into the north and west of the area. So wherever you are across the Brazos Valley, try to orient or try to plan for those storms to move over. So if you're towards the eastern, I'm not making a lot of sense. If you're towards the eastern Brazos Valley, potentially watching for a sunrise for those storms to move overhead. So really, the timeline, we're watching from 12 a.m. to around 10 a.m. to find heavy rain and strong storms across the entirety of the Brazos Valley. But I think once that leading edge moves overhead, we just fill in with some light rain. In terms of forecast rainfall, high-res model data has been really looking at about widespread 1 to 2 inches, but I think a stronger storm embedded with that line of showers and thunderstorms could give upwards localized 4 inches of rain. So that is definitely something we'll be watching, and because it's so dry, it's going to take the ground a bit to soak up a lot of that rain. So potentialized localized flooding on the roadways and all of those things, especially if you're headed out for an early morning commute, something to take note of. So here's rainfall forecast. You can find your county and kind of see what we're looking at in terms of how much rain is going to fall. I think, again, anywhere from an inch to around 2 inches and potentially more. It's more isolated areas right now. Cold Spring picking up about 2.23 inches. Crockett 1.73. Bryan College Station about 1.3. Of course, this is not going to be the exact amount you find, but just an idea of what to expect. In addition, I know I mentioned gusty winds, and that is my main concern, especially along that organized line of showers and thunderstorms, that first initial round that we see into the overnight. So gusts could get upwards of 60 miles per hour, potentially even higher. So that's my main severe threat that we'll be watching, especially as that storm system moves across the area. And of course, heavy rainfall, flooding, hail, pocket-sized change hail moving overhead. And then tornado, it's a low concern, but it is a possibility. So we're going to be watching rotation very closely, especially in that line of thunderstorms that is ahead and along that front. So we'll continue to monitor that very closely, definitely give you all the necessary updates. And because of that threat, the Storm Prediction Center has placed really the central and southern portions of the area in a 2 out of 5 scattered risk for that severe weather potential. The northeast corner, still in a 1 out of 5. So severe weather on the lower side for the northeast corner of the Brazos Valley, but it's definitely there, and that is especially true as we head to the south and west of the area. So, we'll get a little 10-day up here. Here's if we broke it down to numbers. So, 20% chance of rain for your Friday. I think that mainly comes during the afternoon, and then we quiet things down into the evening. Then that line of showers and thunderstorms moves early into your Saturday morning, again watching from about midnight to around sunrise, potentially even 10 a.m. if we see a slower moving front. So that's a 90% chance of rain for the entirety of your overnight and into your Saturday. And that is a first alert weather day just because of those impacts that I outlined earlier. And of course, we keep that 10% chance of rain on the board for your Sunday. And we don't wipe rain chances out of the forecast until the end of next week. So I'm definitely glad to see it, especially given how dry it is across the Brazos Valley. In fact, we got our latest drought monitor, and as you can suspect, it doesn't look good. We've watched drought monitor get worse and worse every week. And so this widespread rain chance comes in perfect timing just because the ground is extremely saturated and in extremely need of rain. So I do want to show y'all drought notes. No surprise to y'all about what this is going to look like, but obviously we're pulling in pretty good portion of us in moderate drought now, even starting to see severe drought take up areas of the Brazos Valley, and extreme drought now moving into Lee County. So we are in desperate need of the rain. Definitely happy to see it, and happy to see a 90% chance of rain back on the forecast. So Kim said, so any tornado concerns for Somerville? So there is tornado concerns for all 16 counties of the Brazos Valley, but I want to know is a low concern, but it is not out of the realm of possibility. So I think everyone who is in the viewing area needs to be watching out for that. And we will definitely be here watching for rotation within some isolated storms embedded in that main line. Of course, it's going to be in the overnight hours. So that's when a lot of us are sleeping. So that is why first alert weather day is in effect, just because it is kind of, it's a little bit of rough timing. Not all of us are awake. So, but we are going to be here watching that line move through. So definitely be giving you all the necessary updates as that storm system moves through. We can just take a look at impacts once again. My main concern at this moment is as long as that line stays organized, we could see some bowing structure, and gusts could get pretty gusty out there. That could knock some tree branches on the road and do some damage, especially when we pair with heavy rainfall and we saturate the ground a little bit. Right now we've got gusts of upwards of 60 miles per hour, potentially even more. So, and that, of course, that comes with that organized line, but we could see that with any generic thunderstorm. Y'all kind of know the drill of what to expect with those thunderstorms, but they have all the ingredients to get to that severe category. And that's why we see that Storm Prediction Center has placed the entirety of us in a slight to a scattered risk. Of course, Kim, thank you so much for joining. Jim said, headed to an outdoor event in LaGrange for Saturday evening. Yes, I would recommend taking the rain gear. I do think it's going to be very isolated, so there is a chance that you stay dry, but of course, there's also the chance that you see rain and potentially even thunderstorms. And potentially those storms could get, once again, to that severe potential, watching for that conditional threat with just a stray shower that moves overhead. So something that we're going to continue to monitor through the remainder of your afternoon, especially if we're not out of the woods by the time we get through your Saturday morning. Oh, Berkeley has joined us. Of course, Burke. So I will just wait. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. Thank y'all so much for joining me this evening. Thank you for staying patient with all of our noise issues. Doesn't seem like we're having that problem now, so thank goodness. But I hope everyone stays safe this Saturday. I hope that we find some pretty plentiful, much-needed rain in the rain gauge. So, for sure, Berkeley, reminding everyone to download the KBTX weather app. So I highly recommend. That is the fastest, most efficient way that we can get to y'all. And give you all the updates that you need. So, not seeing any more questions, so I'll probably hop off. But if you want to catch Max on live at 10, he will have new high-res data that will have pulled into the weather center. So that will kind of, the closer we get, that's the better a little bit more closer to the timing that we will see with those storms that move through the area. So thank y'all so much for joining me this evening, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their Thursday.